ready to rock and roll in the Sprint Cup. They're off, and Dundonald pinged out of the gates along with Mr. Stunning. Penophobia bounced okay. He's pushed hard to try and match the pace. Not Listening to Me drives into fourth from Winner's Way, settling behind the speed today. Born in China. 2 lengths further back then to Amazing Kids from Beat the Clock, who's ridden for Patience at the tail end of the field. Penophobia takes over control at the 800, and he scoots away to lead Mr. Stunning by 2.5. Dundonald settled down third on the inside of Not Listening to Me. Amazing Kids in the small field, 3 deep, no cover. Winner's Way down on the rail, Born in China. Beat the Clock is last. He's half a dozen from the pace as they approach the bend, 500 metres out. And the old 7-year-old Penophobia corners in front with a length advantage. Mr. Stunning is right there, ready to pounce. Beat the Clock winding up quickly, Not Listening to Me. Penophobia keeps fighting. Mr. Stunning, he hasn't fully committed yet, Nash. Now he goes for him as Beat the Clock winds up wider out. Beat the Clock, Mr. Stunning from Not Listening to Me. Winner's Way driving through nearer the inside. Beat the Clock, Mr. Stunning. Winner's Way not far away. Beat the Clock headed Mr. Stunning. Beat the Clock from Mr. Stunning in the Sprint Cup. Winner's Way a game third. Penophobia, Born in China, Dundonald, Not Listening to Me, and Amazing Kids. Torrid Run finished at the rear. 2, 1, 8 and 5 in the Sprint Cup. Beat the Clock with a paralysing turn of acceleration and a 5-pound pull in the weights over Mr. Stunning. Wins by approximately a neck. Winner's Way, good run from him. He looked a serious chance with 100 to go, but the cream really rose to the top in the last 50 and beat 1,200 metres. Gates are open and they're off and racing, and Sir Dancelot slow to move. Fine Needle and Winner's Way likewise. iVictory pinged out, as did Mr. Stunning, and Hot King Prawn stepped away fair, but he's mustering wider out. He'll charge across to the rail, but it'll take him a little bit of time to get there. Hot King Prawn now over to the rail and leads Mr. Stunning. Deeper out, iVictory goes to the quarters of the leader now, with Mr. Stunning dropping in. DB Pin, followed by Fine Needle, who's improved. Little Giant Beat the Clock 3 deep. Born in China, then 2 lengths further back, Winner's Way, Limbs Cruiser. Sir Dancelot is last of all. iVictory is giving Hot King Prawn the large eyeball as they turn for home, 450 metres out. Mr. Stunning sweating on a run behind them. DB Pin the fence. Fine Needle, Little Giant looking to shoulder out. Beat the Clock is winding up, then Born in China. Hot King Prawn marginally from iVictory. Mr. Stunning, DB Pin needs room. Little Giant emerging with Beat the Clock. Mr. Stunning took a slender lead, edging away. Beat the Clock wider out. DB Pin. Mr. Stunning in front from DB Pin and Beat the Clock. Mr. Stunning, he's the man. Wins the sprint again for Karis Teton. Born in China. iVictory weakened out. Fine Needle. Then Winner's Way. Sir Dancelot. Hot King Prawn overhauled. The late scratching was Pingwu Spark. It's a case of deja vu. Mr. Stunning defeating DB Pin in the Hong Kong Sprint. Beat the Clock third. Little Giant, fabulous run fourth. Born in China, iVictory 2 lengths further back with a fast finishing Limbs Cruiser. Karis Teton. We're set to go, the Centenary Sprint Cup. Gates are open, they're off, and Mr. Stunning pinged out of the machine. Little Giant away fast, and they're matching strides together, with Little Giant burrowing through to lead Mr. Stunning initially. DB Pin now flattening out wider, and he's charging up to join them. Beat the Clock settles down in fourth, right on the back of the speed, inside of Styling City. 2 back, Born in China, 50-50, and 2 last of all is Winner's Way. Purton's taken Little Giant to the front in the Centenary Sprint Cup, approaching the 600. Half a length to DB Pin. Beat the Clock travels strongly on the back of the leader. Mr. Stunning's got the 1 out, 1 back. 2 back, Styling City, Born in China, 50-50, and Winner's Way's last of all. It's down to business now at the 400. Little Giant clicks up. DB Pin's right there. Beat the Clock. Mr. Stunning is placed under pressure, but as always, he starts to respond. Little Giant still has it. Beat the Clock. DB Pin's weakening. Then Mr. Stunning. DB Pin's running to Little Giant with 100 to go. Mr. Stunning's not done. It's Beat the Clock. Mr. Stunning. Beat the Clock. Mr. Stunning's cutting him back. Beat the Clock. Clock hanging on, it's his finest hour. Beat the Clock has won from Mr. Stunning. They really paired off to fight out the Centenary Sprint Cup. Third place, possibly 50-50 over Winner's Way. Little in that. They overhauled Little Giant. Then DB Pin. Styling City was towards the back, along with Born in China. Beat the Clock, a neck to Mr. Stunning. Third, it'll go to Winner's Way over 50-50. Little Giant ran a brave race after leading. And then Styling City, DB Pin, weakened out. He might have copped a fairly hefty bump at about the 350. We'll have to look at the 19. They're racing. Santa Ana Lane wider out, stepped nicely, but he's being eased back. Little Giant was the best to begin, as was Ratton wider out and Beat the Clock. Also travelling forward, the Japanese mare, Nak Venus. She's taken a little bit of time to get up and running, but now she's sprinting into fourth. Enzo's Lad holding the rail. Vidora's a touch deep on the outside of Pingwu Spark. A length and a half to Winner's Way, and Santa Ana Lane is at the rear. 6 from the speed, and it's Ratton who takes it up in the Chairman Sprint Prize. They're pretty much crawling. He's 3/4 to Nak Venus. Little Giant sitting in, Beat the Clock 1 by 1. Vidora's 3 deep, Pingwu Spark, Enzo's Lad, then Winner's Way and Santa Ana Lane. Bowman now pulls him to the outside as they turn for home and sprint for the judge, where Ratton, the first to corner from Nak Venus. Beat the Clock, then Little Giant. Santa Ana Lane starting to get traction. Now wider out Vidora. Pingwu Spark, still Ratton has it from Beat the Clock. Santa Ana Lane's too far back. Little Giant, Nak Venus. Beat the Clock, Ratton. They'll pair off to fight it out. Beat the Clock, Ratton. Beat the Clock puts his head in front. It's a second Group 1 for Beat the Clock. A neck to Enzo's Lad. Beat the Clock, Ratton, Little Giant, Santa Ana Lane. Pace very slow. Time will be interesting. Beat the Clock just kept ticking. And today again, it's his time to shine. 21 starts, 8 wins, 8 seconds, 5 thirds, never out of the top 3. Joe Moreira, John Size, 7 runs at Group 1 level, 2 wins, 3 seconds. Hong Kong Sprint. They're off and racing, and Athero stepped away beautifully, as did Mr. Stunning, Hot King, Prawn and Ratton. But Purton is charging for the lead on Athero, and he's going to gather up the front spot within 200 metres. He leads 2 lengths to Mr. Stunning, Hot King, Prawn. Regency Legend was wider out. Beat the Clock began well. Ratton between horses. Then I Victory, Full of Beauty. Dannon Smash, the Japanese 4th last. Then Wishful Thinker, DB Pin and Seasons Bloom last of all. Athero cantering on the lead as they run towards the 550. 3/4 Mr. Stunning, who's moving closer as they swing. Hot King, Prawn, Regency Legend. Then Ratton, Beat the Clock, is locked up down on the rail. Full of Beauty. And then I Victory. They turn for home now in the sprint, and Athero starts to click it up. Moves a length and a half clear. Mr. Stunning trying so hard. Then Hot King, Prawn, Beat the Clock's into the clear. I Victory, Ratton, and then Full of Beauty. But Athero kept going. Only a half, 3/4. They're closing. Hot King, Prawn coming after him. Beat the Clock, Mr. Stunning. Beat the Clock going to Athero. Moreira takes the sprint and the vase. Beat the Clock has overpowered Athero with Hot King, Prawn in the dying stages of the sprint to clock up a 3rd Group 1. Beat the Clock by Hinchinbrook for John Size, his 3rd win on International Day. Hot King, Prawn grabs 2nd in the shadows of the post to make it a Quinella for John Size. Athero is run down in the last 20. He takes 3rd, and Mr. Stunning.
Ready. They're off and racing for the 1200 metres. Beat the Clock actually wasn't the quickest away in the end. And nicely out was Hot King Prawn from barrier number 2. Over Thanks Forever up on the outside. Full of Beauty's pushing forward here in the centre for Purton. A length and a half away. Wishful Thinker on the inside of Mr. Stunning. Beat the Clock, and his stablemate DB Pin is back at the end of the field as they run to the end of the back straight. 850 to go. The leader is Thanks Forever up on the outside. Full of Beauty's pouring some pressure into him now, and he's gone round and taken up one of the front running positions here with Thanks Forever. Hot King Prawn a length and a half away from Wishful Thinker, Mr. Stunning, and then came Beat the Clock and DB Pin the last one. The sprinters head for home. 450 metres left to run. Turning in Thanks Forever over Full of Beauty. Wishful Thinker up the rail. Hot King Prawn, Beat the Clock, needs an out there. Now the gap opens up, and then came Mr. Stunning and DB Pin. Great race here. 250 out. Thanks Forever. Wishful Thinker up the inside. Full of Beauty now coming through is Beat the Clock. Out wide a Hot King Prawn. The leader is Beat the Clock. He's going to go back to back here in the Centenary Sprint Cup, and he wins. Beat the Clock over Thanks Forever. Great go third. It's either Hot King Prawn or along the inside Wishful Thinker. They were followed by Full of Beauty, Mr. Stunning, and DB Pin. Beat the Clock. John Size and Joe Moreira take the 2 Group 1s. And he had to find a way out down the straight, but the gap parted nicely for him. Gee, Thanks Forever's gone a big race here for Grant Van Niekerk. Hot King Prawn there for third from Wishful Thinker, Mr. Stunning, Full of Beauty, and DB Pin. Great contest there. They all had a shot at the gold of the Centenary Sprint Cup at the 250. Real competitive contest.